Hello there, and welcome to today's episode of The Lovable Madman. 1996 would end up being a huge year for pop culture, featuring the debuts of Harry Potter, Pokemon, Crash Bandicoot, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Tomb Raider, and dozens of others that are still going pretty strong today. Animorphs was another property that debuted in 1996 and was immensely popular during its run. I remember the books being featured at just about every school book fair. It got a TV show, had a toy line, and even a few video games. I was 9 or 10 years old when I started reading the books, and they introduced me to concepts that I hadn't encountered before. I was familiar with a team of 6 being given the power to morph by a blue alien so they could fight a megalomaniac from outer space. I was used to the odds being forever against our heroes as they fought an irredeemable evil hell-bent on dominating the galaxy. But Animorphs is unique. You could probably find each individual aspect of the series somewhere else, but the way that Animorphs combined everything and presented itself makes it unlike anything else that's out there. A book series shifting its focus between its main characters isn't all that rare, but Animorphs takes this to the next level by having each book being narrated by a different character. Because of this, we get insights into all of our main characters that we just don't in other franchises. And most of the characters do fit into established archetypes, but they also defy them at the same time. For example, Jake is the leader of the Animorphs, but not because he rallied everyone behind him and asserted himself as the one in charge, but because Marco just said he was. The others trust his judgment and his leadership, but he constantly doubts himself and often wonders if he made the right call in the first place. Marco is the comic relief, but his sarcasm is a defense mechanism to help him cope with his mother's disappearance and his father's depression. He's smart, perceptive, and often sees the end result in what needs to get done before most others do. Axe is the intelligent and stoic alien, and he would fit perfectly within kind of the out-of-touch tech genius, but when he morphs, he constantly plays with words and sounds because he doesn't have a mouth. He also discovers taste and flavors and becomes uncontrollable around things like pizza, cinnamon buns, and cigarette butts. And despite his constant claims not to understand human humor, he constantly cracks jokes, and that leaves the others to wonder if they were intentional or not. When this series starts, we're told that the Yeerks are evil, and that the only thing they want is to subjugate and enslave all other races in the galaxy. That the Hork-Bajir are made for battle and for fighting, and that the Taxons are these horrible bug monsters who willingly allied themselves with the Yeerks. And standing against this plight are the noble Andalites, the only ones capable of stopping this encroaching evil. We of course learn that almost none of that is actually true. While the Yeerk ruling council does want to have an empire and enslave other races, it stems from the fact that the Andalites denied them the chance to do that in the first place. Most Yeerks just want to be free, to explore and see what the universe has to offer beyond their limited Yeerk pools. The Hork-Bajir are peaceful vegetarians, genetically engineered to care and cultivate trees. They have the average intelligence of a preschooler, with the rare exception of seers, who through a genetic quirk have the intelligence of other sentient races. The Taxons have a fear of starvation, but they evolve to be eternally hungry, and thus they devour anything unfortunate enough to get in their path. The Taxons only allied with the Yeerks because the Yeerks promised to feed them. But not all Taxons submitted. Throughout the entire occupation, there's a Taxon resistance battling the Yeerks. And slowly, the truth of the Andalites is revealed to us. Most of what we learn about the Andalites comes through Axe, who was taught that they're an honorable species and that they would never do anything that constitutes a war crime. The Andalites have a very rigid societal structure and look down on other races. And it's that hubris that has caused them to go on the defensive in their war with the Yeerks. Animorphs has some of the most interesting and diverse races of aliens out there, whereas most sci-fi usually has someone in face paint and a fake nose, or their aliens are just monsters only interested in killing people. Animorphs seem to make an effort to avoid the sort of generic humanoid framework when designing its alien races. The Andalites are centaurs with extra stalk eyes and a giant scorpion-like tail. The Hork-Bajir seem to pull their inspiration from several reptilian or dinosaurian animals, and the taxons are monster centipedes. Even the minor races have some thought and interesting aspects to them. The Lyrans are kind of a frog-like race, but instead of arms, they have tentacles. And the Helmicrons are insane microscopic insects from outer space. And that doesn't even begin to include the menagerie of monsters that Visser 3 can morph into. The series even managed to put its own spin on the traditional gray aliens. And while a lot of the races do have some familiar humanoid or aspects of other Earth animals, the uniqueness of all of them makes one of the most interesting collection of alien races out there. Throughout sci-fi and fantasy, humans are the base that other races are built upon. If another race is more than just kind of a palette-swapped human, they're usually faster or smarter or stronger or have some other superpower that just makes them better than the regular human being. Even Animorphs does this to an extent, with the Hork-Bajir, Taxons, and Andalites all being physically more impressive than humans. However, K.A. Applicate gave the humans of this universe their own sort of special skills, their ingenuity and their dexterity. It's stated throughout the series that human hands are much stronger than Andalite hands and are also way better at any kind of detail work than any Hork-Bajir or Taxon is. Both Axe and Elfangor are surprised and impressed at how creative and adaptive the humans are in various situations. Axe even marvels at the fact that it took humans less than 70 years to go from powered flight to landing on the moon, something that took his own race centuries. Rotating the different books between the Animorphs makes each of them feel equally important. Most stories that feature a team usually have the leader as the main character, but Jake doesn't feel any more of a main character than any of the other Animorphs. These books are really fun, and they can get really funny and silly, and they have some ridiculous adventures, such as going up Marco's nose or uncovering a government conspiracy surrounding an alien toilet. However, these lighter and sillier moments balance out just how dark this series could get. The books tackle some very serious and heavy issues, such as the morality of fighting in a war and the consequences it can have on someone. I love Star Wars and Power Rangers, but those franchises exist mostly in terms of black and white, good versus evil. And there are exceptions, but that sort of gray area in the middle doesn't really play into the overall themes or story of those franchises. The Animorphs kind of starts that way too, but the further in you go, the more that becomes a lie. Almost every Animorphs character exists in that gray area between good and evil. The books don't shy away from the trauma the Animorphs experience. They all have nightmares about their battles, and each of them becomes appalled with themselves at how easy lying to their parents becomes. The battles they fight in are gory and vicious, and they aren't glorified the way they are in other media targeted at a younger audience. Animorphs published its last book in 2001 and just kind of faded away after that. However, it's never been fully forgotten. In 2010, they did a special reprint of the first 7 or so books with a holographic cover and some updated pop culture references. In 2015, talks of a movie adaptation began, and were still happening as recently as 2020 when K.A. Applegate and her husband Michael Grant had to drop out of the project. Chris Grind has adapted the first couple of books into graphic novels and is slated to do 4 more over the next couple of years. Even here on YouTube, there's been several videos done on the book series over the last few years. Animorphs is my all-time favorite book series, ever since I first read them. The Invasion was the first chapter book that I ever finished. Besides Captain Underpants, but that one is mostly pictures and features an entire chapter that's literally, they got away. So I don't really count that one. But Animorphs also got me interested in writing. It was the first fan fiction that I ever did, and has thankfully been lost to time. I recommend rereading and revisiting this series if it's been a while since you've done so. And if you've never read them, I recommend reading the series. The books are targeted at kind of a younger teen audience, but the characters and the plots are complex and engaging enough so that no matter what age you are, you can get lost in the weird and wonderful world of the Animorphs. Anyway, let me know what you thought of Animorphs and its legacy and how it impacted you. Do you have a favorite book or a favorite character? Do you have a favorite alien race? But most importantly, what animal would you want to morph into? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know by leaving a like, and if you want to see more from me, be sure to subscribe. I have another Animorphs video that's going to be coming out soon, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. Today's trivia: Cassie wasn't in the original lineup for the Animorphs. Instead, it was a character named Matt, who was going to be Jake's younger brother. Thank you all for watching, and remember, we're all mad here.